Tractor Supply Company, different than Lowe's, also carries a different brand than Lowe's, Cub Cadet. I came today to look at this LT4200, the XT1 variant, $2299.99. That makes it a couple of $100 cheaper than the current T2200K from Craftsman, a mower that a lot of people say is the exact same thing. Well, they're not exactly the same, as we'll see, but this sticker does tip off that they're both an MTD product, and they do have kind of the same base, as you can tell by the grill up there, the flat bottom steering wheel, and even the dash. Except for the one difference. There's the usual keyed system with the remote and reverse button. There is no runtime meter on this now. There used to be, and they used to have a fancy bezel. There is this, though. This is unique to Cub Cadet. The IntelliPower dial. I actually like this. Mode to cut, mode to power cut, when you're just driving around or idle. This is nice. And a functional difference. Now this is plastic, but there's two cubbies here technically. There's the cubby up there where I used to put my phone, and then this bigger spot. That's Cub Cadet specific. This is identical. The cup holder and then the phone holder that won't really fit a modern smartphone. All of this lower stuff, especially the sheet metal, is all base MTD stuff, just a different paint job per brand. A noticeable omission over here though, no Made in the USA sticker like all the Craftsman mowers have, though the rest of the sheet metal, it's all the same. And the usual MTD functional controls will come back to the deck. First I want to go to this transmission. Aha, TL200D. A downgrade on these newest MTD mowers. Now I'm going to have more information on that. I'm going to make it a special video though, because I have specifics straight from Tough Torque. A quick peruse of the other components, the same Turf Saver 20x8 tires on the back. All this lower sheet metal looks the same. Now these grab knobs do look slightly larger, at least in this video. That could just be an optical thing, but the controls all the same, even over here. The very familiar rocker assembly for the hydrostatic transmission. Now let's talk about this deck. This is a 42-inch deck on this mower, again the equivalent of the Craftsman 42. The sticker though, there is zero adhesive on about half of this. Now that's just, well, that's not a good sign for quality. At least to me, it's the small details sometimes. The same spindle covers as the T210, the T2200, 2200K. Now, I don't know if Cub Cadet has converted over to the S blades or if that's just Craftsman, but I assume it's S. It'll all have the same horrible multi-adapter. And look at that. The new painted pulleys and rollers, don't like that. Tire gap between the deck and the rear wheels is different on the right side and the left side. That's normal. And like Craftsman, Cub Cadet 2 only has front anti-scalp wheels. Washport, it's the same deck, but I will say with this black paint, it looks thinner. I know it's not, but it just looks thinner. Front tires 15x6 with the black rims. Now I like the way they did the entire bottom of the mower black. That looks nice. And I guess the $200 difference means you don't get any bumper. There's no guard protection of any kind. It's all plastic. At least this isn't peeling. I think that might be screen printed. Now up here, this one definitely not screen printed and also not adhering all that well. If it were me and I were running a company, or at least a company name, an old brand, a storied brand, I would at least want my branding and my unique stickers to stay intact. Obviously the Cub Cadet branding, right? And the IntelliPower, I mean, that's one of their things. If there's something I think Cub Cadet's always done well with these, it's that mean look up front. I love those headlights. Move a little further back, it gets less unique. The usual MTD. Now open this hood, which we're going to talk about that in just a second. First, let's move down to the engine, because this is unique to Cub Cadet, this 547 IntelliPowered engine. And you can see the hood mount there. Okay, I'll go back to the hood. It's just loose and flimsy. I knew this was plastic. It does have the ducting. I like that. But the Craftsman has a metal hood. This is all plastic. And every part on it, I mean, it's just cheap feeling. And it doesn't feel secure at all. Every piece of this just feels flimsy and like it's going to break. I can only imagine this after a few years getting brittle. A shame because it looks so good. Now let's go back to this engine. 547 cc's, overhead valve, IntelliPower. And you can see this is clearly not a Kohler. And that the IntelliPower is electronically driven, no cables. Now, however you pronounce that. Now, I've heard these engines are made in China. We're going to come back to that when I look at the other side. But it is smaller. It's only an 18 horsepower. This also different. This does not have that 5-inch turn type. I believe these Cub Cadets have a 9 or a 10-inch turn radius. Okay, back to this engine, which looks surprisingly like a push mower engine to me, just one with an electric starter. I do like the labeling for the oil, and I'm assuming this is a voltage regulator of some kind. Usually anything that generates enough heat to need cooling fins is alloy, so I find that interesting. Just looking at this engine as a whole first, it's smaller. Of course, 18 horsepower versus 20, I get that. But, and I know you can't judge this just by the plastics and the metal, but it just doesn't look as robust. I'm sure it runs fine, that IntelliPower's nice and all that. It's just different. This gas tank, exactly the same. Someone complained in one of my previous videos that it didn't show the engine sticker in the upright orientation because I was looking at it from a different direction. Well, here you go. And now it's upside down again. I do like this large, at least in comparison to the engine cooling fan. Another look at those dual cubbies. I'm jealous of that. Underneath the seat, the battery is the new MTD type, meaning they've adapted it down to this smaller battery. I kind of like a larger battery myself, but maybe this is equally as powerful. Easy seat adjuster, check, and this leather-like cover, just like the Craftsman, except this one's yellow and it has Cub Cadet branding. It's a good look. Cub Cadet makes an attractive product, especially if you're looking to save a couple of $100 over a comparable Craftsman. While I was there, I took a quick peek at the LT42, which has, you guessed it, a 46-inch deck. And I'm not sure if that's a factory contour or a dent. Curious, but not the curiosity that brought me to look at this model. I wanted to see the transmission, and there it is, TL200D, the same as the 42-inch. Now I do see these rear wheels are the exact same size as the 42, so I expected naively that other than the larger deck, everything would be the same, and then I saw this. Where's the IntelliPower stuff? That looks like the T2200K setup. This was manufactured in January of 2024. And look at this, a 22 horsepower Kohler. I just looked up the Craftsman T2400 46-inch and it has a 23 horsepower. Look at this, made in USA, unlike that 42-inch. Cub Cadet LT42, so this, the LT46. Now look at this though, eeh. That doesn't look good. The price does though, $200 less than the comparable Craftsman, minus 1 horsepower. And there we go, a look at a couple of Cub Cadet mowers, the LT46 and the LT42, and how they compare to their Craftsman siblings. Very similar, but unique. And a couple of $100 less. What do you think, especially about this LT42 and that engine? I think, again, that's a Chinese manufactured engine. Comment below if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I saw that online. And comment with which would you choose. Would you take the Craftsman or would you take this Cub Cadet? I'm a little biased towards the Craftsman because mine has worked so well for over 4 years, but they're now a couple of $100 more than that comparable LT42, so I could see an argument both ways. Cub Cadet or Craftsman? Comment below with your opinions. Thanks for watching and have a great day.